Long before coins sang in markets, value had weight. Traders measured silver, copper, and grain by scale and trust. Every exchange demanded calculation, patience, and memory. But in the hills of western Anatolia, ancient Lydia, humanity decided that the measure of worth could be borne, not weighed. Here, along the Pactolus River, flowed a strange metal, Electrum, a natural alloy of gold and silver. It shimmered with both light and shadow, a union of purity and impurity. To the Lydians, it was the perfect metaphor for life itself, divine yet flawed, rare yet obtainable. By the 7th century BCE, this river of Electrum would give birth to something the world had never seen, a promise struck into metal. The king of Lydia, Gyges, sought order in a world of barter and deception. Merchants clipped weights, diluted metals, argued endlessly over value. Gyges envisioned a royal guarantee, each stamped piece of Electrum carrying not just metal but the authority of the crown. His smiths melted the river's treasure, shaped it into ovals no larger than a thumb, and pressed upon them a mark, a lion's head, jaws open, eyes forward, the symbol of the Lydian king. For the first time in history, value spoke with a voice higher than its owner. The lion declared, "This weight is true, this promise is royal." These were the first coins, small, portable empires of trust. At first, few believed. Why trade raw metal for marked metal? Yet soon merchants discovered that a stamped coin saved time, reduced argument, and traveled farther than any merchant's reputation. The coin became a portable piece of the king's integrity. Across the markets of Sardis, these lion coins moved from hand to hand like sparks of certainty. For every transaction, less time was wasted on measuring, more on making. Trade accelerated. Metal had become message. Each coin was a royal promise that transcended the man who held it. And as it passed, so did trust, mass-produced, repeatable, eternal. Croesus, the grandson of Gyges, would perfect his ancestors' experiment. Around 560 BCE, he separated Electrum into its pure elements, gold and silver, and minted the world's first bimetallic currency system. The gold coin for the nobles and international trade, the silver coin for merchants and daily exchange. Together, they formed an economic harmony, the Crusade standard, so stable that nearby kingdoms adopted it. Croesus's coins carried an evolved symbol, the lion facing the bull, strength against fertility, order facing chaos. To hold such a coin was to hold a story, a miniature myth of balance struck into metal. Foreign emissaries marveled. Greek poets called Croesus as rich as the sun. Even the oracle at Delphi praised him for uniting metal and meaning. But wealth attracts envy. The Persians advanced from the east. When Cyrus the Great conquered Lydia in 546 BCE, he did not destroy the mint, he improved it. The Persians adopted the technology, creating their own coins, the darics, and carried the Lydian idea from the Aegean to the Indus. The lion's roar echoed across continents. A concept had escaped its cradle, the idea that value could be guaranteed by symbol, that metal stamped by authority could move trust faster than armies. Coins traveled farther than kings. Each carried not just value, but propaganda. Each design was a declaration. We exist, we endure, we are worth believing in. The birth of coinage changed more than trade. It changed time itself. Before coins, every city measured worth differently. After coins, weight and value became unified, and for the first time, prices could be compared across distance. Markets began to synchronize. Empires began to calculate. Money had become mathematics. Yet, even in its infancy, this invention carried danger. To stamp metal with promise meant that rulers could later cheat their own seal, reduce purity, stretch weight, and mint illusion. Trust, now externalized in metal, could be manipulated. Still, for centuries, the Lydian innovation held. The coin became the heartbeat of civilization, the rhythm of markets, the sound of power, the spark of belief. By the time the idea reached Greece, it would evolve again. The polis would transform the coin from a royal signature into a symbol of civic identity, a nation in miniature. But that is another story. The coin began as metal and ended as meaning. It was humanity's first true abstraction of trust, a promise you could hold, pass, and never question. From the river's gold to the king's mark to the merchant's hand, this was the moment value learned to speak. When the Lydian lion learned to roar, Greece taught it to speak. In the scattered cities along the Aegean, on islands and capes, in harbors and highlands, people discovered that a coin could be more than a royal stamp. It could be a face for a city, a signature for a people, a small, bright oath in metal. On Aegina, a sea turtle swam across silver, the emblem of traders who live by ships and salt. In Corinth, the winged horse Pegasus took flight. But it was Athens that forged the most famous face of all, the owl of Athena, eyes wide and eternal, resting beside an olive spray, and the letters A-T-H-E of the Athenians. To hold an Athenian tetradrachm was to hold Athens itself, its stone and speech, its ships and laws, its daring sense that the future could be made rather than waited for. Greece gave coinage a soul. The polis, the city as a political body, adopted the coin as a mirror and a tool. In the agora, the public square where citizens argued and bought figs, where philosophers wandered and fishmongers shouted prices, money standardized not just value, but time. With a coin, a debt ended cleanly. With a coin, a day's work could be priced without quarrel. The years had taught the Greeks a lesson. A coin without trust is just a disk of metal. Trust required quality, and quality required minds. South of Athens lay the Laurian, ridges of stone where silver hid in narrow veins. Slaves with lamps cut rock, smelters purified ore with wind and heat. Magistrates inspected the output, and the city's mint struck silver into owls. From stone to symbol, Athens turned geology into policy. With silver came ships, with ships came empire. Under Themistocles, Athens built a fleet of triremes, sleek, lethal, oared by free men paid in coin. The owl funded benches and sails, bronze rams and seasoned timber. If an empire is a machine, money is the oil. The Athenian coin greased the axles of history. A coin could row. In war against Persia, the owl helped defend the Greek idea of the city. After victory, it helped fuel ambition. The scattered allies of the Delian League paid tribute in coin or gold. The League's treasury, first on Delos, later in Athens, swelled with the weight of allies' promises. An owl in an ally's palm was proof of Athens at their door. But Greece did not only pay soldiers, Athens paid citizens. In a startling experiment, the city chose to pay jurors, to provide stipends for assembly attendance, even to fund seats at the theater. Under Pericles, the city cultivated civic habit with coin, democracy as a paid craft. Why? Because time is not free. If the poor cannot afford politics, politics becomes the plaything of the rich. A small wage would buy a larger voice. Thus, coinage became not only the medium of trade, but the instrument of citizenship. In the markets, trapezatai, Greek money changers, sat at low tables. They tested coins on stones to reveal the streak of real silver. They weighed, they exchanged, they kept accounts. In their ledgers, numbers learned to travel without bodies. In their stalls, coins from Aegina met coins from Ephesus. Owls met turtles, standards met standards. The drachma and obol, the hand's coin and the mouth's coin, flowed through fingers like quick rain. The Greeks understood the social power of standards. Somewhere between barter and bank lay a new confidence, a fixed weight, a recognizable design, a common expectation. If you could trust the owl's eye, you could trust a contract made at noon with a man you'd never met at dawn. Across the sea, Persia minted its own language of value, the gold daric and silver siglos, stamped with a royal archer. The world now spoke in a chorus of metals, each voice tied to a city, a king, a law. Coins became passports for goods and for ideas. The coin's face mattered. The Greeks adorned their money with gods, heroes, and civic emblems. Athena's calm, Nike's wings, the barley ear of Metapontum, the crab of Acragas. A coin in the hand was art in the street, portable propaganda, pocket sculpture, sermon, and sales pitch at once. Few people entered temples daily. Everyone touched coins. Beauty polishes trust. With trust secured, prices stabilized. With prices stabilized, time sharpened. If a day's wage could be counted in drachmas, then contracts could be longer, ships could go farther, and the city could plan years ahead. Seigniorage, the profit from minting, funded public works, gold statues, marble stoas, and the fine geometry of the Parthenon rested in part on silver's steady beat. But money tempts shadow, where trust pools, deception drinks. Counterfeiters plated bronze with silver, coin clippers shaved edges to steal a margin of metal. Distant mints debased their coins to stretch the treasury. Greek cities responded with inspectors, official test cuts, and public punishments. The owl's bright eye needed constant watching. The market wrote an unspoken rule: quality wins. And so, a paradox, while every city struck its image, merchants often preferred the best silver available, regardless of origin. In many years, that meant the Athenian owl becoming a kind of informal international standard. A coin minted by a city could exceed the city's borders, like a flag that kept flying at foreign ports. Yet the coin did more than move goods, it moved meaning. In tragedy and comedy, playwrights joked about the bad coin and praised the good. In philosophy, thinkers asked what a coin truly represented. Was it nomos, law and convention, or physis, something natural and given? If a city could declare metal to be money, was value a fact or a decision? The coin forced Greece to ask, what is worth? In the Socratic street, a coin could be a lesson. In Aristotle's study, it became a category: money as measure, medium, and store. The Greeks did not just spend coins, they defined them. Commerce grew subtle. A sailor could be paid in advances before a voyage, with a share promised at return. Loans could be secured by cargo, interest adjusted for risk and season. Money learned to ride the wind. Contracts began to imagine the future, but prosperity is a jealous god. Athens' rise bred rivalries. The city that paid citizens and funded fleets also levied expectations. Allies resented tribute. Sparta watched and waited. When war returned, long, draining, and bitter, it chewed through silver faster than men. The Peloponnesian War proved that coins can fight, and coins can bleed. Mints ran day and night. Emergency issues appeared: bronze coins with silver wash, promises hammered thin. As ships burned and crops failed, Athens learned the price of a grand experiment. Money can sustain a democracy, but it cannot save it from itself. After decades, the balance shifted. A new power rose from the north, Macedon, and with Philip II and Alexander, coinage found a new destiny. Alexander the Great minted money as he marched, staters and tetradrachms bearing Heracles and Zeus, struck from plundered treasuries and new mines, paying armies as large as cities. He spread coins like seeds, and cities sprouted in their wake. Greek money, Greek art, Greek language poured across Asia. In this rush, the coin completed its education. It had learned to speak identity. Now it learned to scale. The age of the polis, of city money, had pioneered standards, confidence, and beauty. The age to come would ask money to do something different, to knit together an empire not of one city, but of hundreds. The coin had become a road. In marketplaces from Alexandria to Babylon, owls met darics, Heracles faced Archer, and the small arguments of shopkeepers hid a larger miracle. A region of rival cities had discovered a common tongue in silver. And yet, beneath the harmony, a warning sounded. The more a city relies on coins, the more it relies on those who strike them. Debase the coin, and you can tax the people secretly. Tighten the mint, and you can discipline the market. Money had given citizens new power, but it had also given rulers a new lever. Greece taught the world to mint identity, but the next age would mint obedience. Beyond the Ionian horizon, a city of 7 hills watched, learned, and prepared. It would take the Greek coin and give it iron discipline, bureaucratic muscle, and an ambition measured in roads. The coin would march with legions. It would collect taxes at rivers and borders. It would carry the faces of living men. Greece had made the coin beautiful. Rome would make it law. And with that, the owl closed one eye, the archer lowered his bow, and the sound of hammers in 1,000 mints grew into the steady march of an empire. In the Republic's early days, money was heavy, bronze by weight, value argued on scales. As Rome reached beyond Italy, it needed a faster tongue. Around 211 BCE, in the heat of the Second Punic War, the city struck a new promise in silver: the denarius. Small, bright, and reproducible, The denarius carried Rome's word across mountains and seas. On one side, Roma or victory. On the other, scenes of vows and triumphs. The coin didn't just pay armies, it synchronized them. A legionary in Spain and a supplier in Sicily could think in the same numbers. Taxes, tolls, wages, standardized in metal that could travel in a saddlebag. Yet money is never just arithmetic. It is theater. As the Republic frayed, coins turned political. Young moneyers advertised their lineages on reverses, stitching family glory into daily trade. Then, a rupture. 44 BCE. Julius Caesar placed his living portrait on a coin. Value became propaganda, and propaganda became personal. The denarius now asked for allegiance. Out of civil war, Augustus built something colder and stronger. Money as system. Mints reorganized. Denominations layered. The gold aureus, the silver denarius, the brass sestertius, the copper os, each tuned to a role in the empire's economy. Across stone roads and sea lanes, portraits stabilized. The message repeated: Rome pays, Rome protects, Rome endures. Coins became the empire's circulatory system. Grain taxes flowed in, stipends and donatives flowed out. The big brass sestertius doubled as a billboard for public pride, bridges, harbors, personifications of Annona and Aquitus, while the aureus oiled diplomacy and command. Under the Flavians and Antonines, silver content held well enough that the machine purred. Trajan's coins marched to Dacia. Hadrian's reverses toured the provinces, a numismatic map of belonging. But empires are vast appetites. Wars, monuments, spectacles, and the politics of generosity make a treasury hungry. When revenue lags, a ruler has few levers: raise taxes, borrow against tomorrow, or stretch the coin. Nero set the precedent: trim the denarius's silver content. The portrait stayed noble. The truth inside thinned. For a while, prosperity masked the change. But habits harden into systems, and systems carry consequences. By the 3rd century, the world moved faster than coins. Emperors rose and fell in months. Frontiers buckled. Plague and panic chewed through confidence. Rome issued the Antoninianus, a theoretical double of the denarius, but with less silver than one good denarius had once held. It glittered briefly, then tarnished. Markets learned the new arithmetic. Prices chased metal. Soldiers demanded more coins to buy the same bread. Merchants hoarded older, brighter silver, and passed on the thin new discs. The state minted the gap between what it owed and what it possessed. Trust, the invisible alloy, began to fail. Reforms tried to force coherence. Aurelian tightened mint practices and stamped 21 to proclaim a set metal ratio. Decrees could fix dies, not doubt. The other function of money, theater, surged to compensate. Stern soldier emperors and radiate crowns, reverses promising felicitas, virtus, providentia. The coin shouted abundance. The market whispered shortage. Money is a pact between metal and meaning. When the metal falters, meaning must be reforged. Diocletian approached as a surveyor, divide administration, reorganize taxes, and attempt the unthinkable, edict on maximum prices to command scarcity by law. He also restructured coinage, seeking a reset. But legislation can't mint belief. It can only signal it. The lasting solution came with Constantine. Drawing on the empire's remaining reservoirs of gold, and the logic that trust needs an anchor, he struck the solidus, a high-purity gold coin so consistent that it would outlive emperors, invaders, and, in spirit, the empire itself. The solidus did what speeches could not. It stabilized expectation. Merchants could price across provinces without fear that tomorrow's coin would be thinner. Officials could plan revenues without building invisibly into inflation. Soldiers, paid in reliable gold, could measure loyalty in more than hope. The Roman lesson crystallized. Money is not only a substance, it is a system of promises. The denarius had once embodied that promise in plentiful silver. The late empire relocated it into meticulously pure gold. When silver lost meaning, Rome reinscribed meaning in gold. Yet even the solidus could not save everything. By the late 4th century, the empire's problems were not only fiscal: migrations, rival armies, brittle administrations, fractured loyalties. A perfect coin cannot mend a broken state, but it can carry an idea across ruin, and the solidus did. It became the backbone of Byzantine finance and a beacon for medieval trade. For centuries, when merchants sought a reference point, they reached for a memory of Roman gold. Step back, and Rome's arc becomes clear. It scaled coinage from city token to imperial infrastructure. It taught the world that money can be bureaucracy, mints, audits, taxes, law, legal tender defining how debts die, and voice, portraits and legends turning payments into policy. It also taught a harder truth. When rulers can change the coin's soul with a stroke, every coin carries risk. The denarius that fed the Republic's legions became the Antoninianus that starved the 3rd century of certainty. Then came the solidus, gold so honest that rumor bounced off it, proving that sometimes the only repair for trust is discipline. Imagine, at the end, a strongbox on a Roman road, a few bright aurae, stacks of tired Antoniniani, and, nestled like suns, fresh solidi. Inside that box lies more than metal. There are policies and panics, victories and failures, taxes and paydays, speeches and silences, the whole weather of a state pressed into circles. Rome did not invent the coin, but it defined what coins could do: pay armies, bind provinces, broadcast order, and, when necessary, confess a regime's weakness. In the long echo, one truth remains. Money is the most human metal, soft in meaning, hard in consequence. When the denarius rang, an empire advanced. When the Antoninianus dulled, an empire staggered. When the solidus gleamed, a civilization remembered itself. The journey from silver to shadow to gold was not just metallurgy. It was the price of trust, and Rome paid it, coin by coin,